BluntCut MetalWorks, March 24, 2022. I was asked to make some vegetable knife, near curie knife, and which is, want something that have good wear resistant and stainless, and so there are many choices for it. You can go from say like ABL all the way to S125V. But there's certain thing about the edge. The edge is, I want it to be sharp, have this, in a way that it can grab your skin and wear resistant. And for the steel that is, say, rich in basically primary vanadium carbide, it gets really good, have good wear resistance, but it doesn't have the the carbide, it doesn't have the fracture. Because the carbide is very hard, it's good for wear resistant, but it doesn't fracture, it's easy. Versus something like, say, if you have cementite, it fractures easily, but it's not very hard. And so it gets wear away quickly. So chromium carbide is that the one that, say, like in GDP 189, which is basically LRCPM 154, and many other chromium, the one that come in rich composite carbide, actually does give pretty good edge, and also a little bit easier to sharpen. So anyway, and I sort of lean to, decide that maybe S60V, which is not S90V, but because S60V have higher chromium, and therefore chromium end up forming carbide. So there's a certain sweet spot, which is the preferential, or again based on activation, or in this case deactivated, and then they do the transformation to monazite, and then what get along the way, what easily you to be buying with the excess carbon in solution, and to form the carbide, and so there's some chromium and or vanadium. So of course depend on what available. But anyway, so I think that S60V could be the one. And so for the shelf knife edge, again, this is I always sharpen at this one here, S60V at 65 Rockwell, if I remember correctly. Anyway, I will put it in the description. And sharpen with your Edge Pro at 13.5 degrees precise. Thickness behind the edge probably less than 10,000 here, but again, it's not as important. And so the edge is plenty sharp for people to use it. For cutting vegetable, thing like that. For tomato or something, or salad or something. The skin sometimes hard to cut, so you want a little bit more toothy. And so, and that they started it like so, but also it have to be sturdy enough, even though and so, and here you're going to be able to support bone contact, and so assume that they're going to be bone contact. Most of the time, vegetable knife, you're not going to cut meat into bone, right? Basically, you do contact to wood cutting board and say end grain or something like that, because you're picky. But for people that not really careful, so they might cut something that is not end grain, but so therefore you're going to run into cutting again, say something that end up with hidden bamboo, for example, right? So, and with bamboo, except here, there, you cut into things, bamboo board. But this one I whittled so that you can see it. But also, I wanted to here is real hard wood, and then the edge have to be hard enough to be able to handle the lateral. In this case, you compress it, but however, when it's going to be lateral here, and this is Argentine Lignum Vitae, so it's hard. So after all that, as for the user, I mean, if the edge is still able to cut and so well enough that the effort is still like so for the user, kind of like this, I mean the edge is as good as new, and so very happy. And so I want to, one of the criteria I like to test on is how the edge, how strong the edge can withstand lateral. In this case, this is elk antler tips. I mean, I use this one as a standard in a way now. I mean, they have a different hardness, depend on the construction, but they got a consistency is hard. But anyway, many of the, for anything, say, below 62 Rockwell, depend on the steel. And then if you have the angle this thin, I mean, at 13.5 degrees, side they were not able to handle Whittle this without, you have a lot of it will roll or and collapse or chips or all sort of weird things to it. Right? So I did it here. And that one, I mean, very controlled because, again, I mean, the extreme test of it. So, I mean, no problem there. So that the hardness there, I mean, so you can see this one harder here. I mean, easier to do. So you can see this is beef rib bone. So anyway, I think now what I didn't test is the how doable, how long it'll last. And because, I mean, I will figure that it will, it's going to be better than S30V. Because again, this is a lot higher. They have like 6% vanadium carbide here. Vanadium, I mean, by mass, percent by mass. But again, there's 17% of chromium. So maybe there are a lot of chromium going to form carbide. So maybe they're only about 12% or maybe 13% of chromium still in solution. The rest is going to be carbide forming. So therefore, I mean, this edge would be will last pretty well. I mean, but somewhere between S30V and S90V. Thanks for watching.